in general, you've got to be bloody minded, you've got to be obstinate, you've got to be slightly demented, slightly obsessive, and if I could give one piece of advice, if you were researching it, certainly with a view to doing a book, my advice would be, or even if you're doing your own family history, for example, or doing any local history research, is have more than one project on the go at a time, because I can tell you, you will get any project like this, you're going to reach an impasse, and you're going to get to the point where you just can't see the way ahead, and you're going to get frustrated. And if I do that, because I've normally got about 3 or 4 projects on the go at a time, if something's getting nowhere, I just back off and leave it, and then switch to something else. And then 2 days later, a week later, however long, you come back to it, and sometimes, with a fresh eye and a fresh mind, you think, well, I haven't tried that. If you're searching census records and you get all sorts of misspellings and this, that and the other, and you can just hit on something. It's all this, it's like the old definition about genius. I mean, a lot of it is luck rather than, any great sort of I don't sit down and plan a book in detail. I sort of mooch around the internet and I look at census records and slowly just, odd threads here and there come together and you start seeing connections and you think, yes, there might be some mileage in this. But it's purely luck. I mean, just as an example, about a week ago, I posted I found a mention of, this is completely by the by, there's no connection to Ramsgate, but just as an example of this, going off at a tangent sometimes, I found a mention of James Maybrick in December 1888, December the 4th, not long after the Kelly murder, because I was looking for mentions of him in around that time, and I couldn't find anything. And the newspaper archive I was searching in, I'd put in Maybrick, and I put in James, and I put in the Battle Crease and this, that, and the other, and just nothing was coming. I mean, there were mentions of him, but not the period I wanted. And then you sometimes you have to sit there, and if anybody had seen me doing this, I would have been taken away, because I was sitting looking at the print on the screen, and I was squinting up my eyes, and I was thinking, now, all these newspaper articles are scanned automatically. What letter could that be mistaken for? So it's actually gone through and been transcribed not as Maybrick, and I tried Maybrickle and Maybridge, and I thought, well, it's going to have a tall letter on the end. It might be an H. And then I tried changing the vowels, and I put Meybrick, M-E-Y-B-R-I-K. And they'd misspelt it. All of the articles of that December the 4th thing, it must have been syndicated, they all spelt his name as M-E-Y-B-R-I-C-K. I mean, that's no great inspiration on my part, it's pure luck. But you have to try odd things like that may seem insane at the time. It's like finding, another example is finding Montague Druitt in the 1881 census. If you put Druitt in, if you put Montague Druitt in a search engine for the 1881 census, you won't find him, because his surname was so badly written and has been transcribed by a willing, and I can understand why they did it, but his surname on the index is down as Druck, D-R-U-K. Now, then you search around it, you think, well, I know his name's Montague, I know when he was born, and I know he's probably down as born in Wimborne, and there's not that many Montagues born in that year, in Wimborne. So, when I saw Druck, I thought, D-R-U, let's have a look at that. So, be persistent, have more than one project on the go, use all the resources you've got locally, haunt your library like a second skin, because, if you're lucky and you've got a good library, make friends with your librarians, because they're worth their weight in gold if you've got a good one. Get to know your local bookshop keeper, second-hand books, antiquarian books, anything like that. Because if you're lucky, he or she will keep you posted if anything of interest comes in, and you'll get first bite. And it's just things like that, some of which are obvious and some aren't. But I think, it's just be persistent. Look at avenues that aren't immediately apparent. I mean, obviously, local archives like Mike has done superbly. Local trade directories, and look at other sites, get inspiration, look at genealogy websites and read the message boards as well as, just what you're looking for. Pick other people's minds. Don't be afraid to nick. You know, if somebody comes up with a good idea, use it. You know, you've got to be an unashamed thief. I don't mean actually stealing material that other people have come up with and not attributing it, because I think that's heinous. But, you know, their methods. If somebody says, oh, well, I found this so-and-so, you know, if there's an archive you didn't know about. There's one I found only tonight. There's a film archive called the Huntley Archive that I'd never heard of. And they've got, you know, 1910 clips of... There's a 1910 film called, you know, Jewish Life in Whitechapel. And it's got a scene-by-scene list of what's in there. Now, I'm going to do a post and say, you know, has anybody seen this? Is there anything decent in there? And it's just look everywhere. Don't be put off.
Thanks a lot for that. I thought that was good advice. You had mentioned